Highside Life is a lifestyle brand grown completely organically out of my love for motorcycles and brightening people's days. My passion for riding is limitless, but my passion for people is even greater. Lucky for me, I have a natural born talent, so with some practice, I've developed my own riding style and create my own lifestyle brand behind it. I'd like to take advantage of my platform and use it to spread positivity throughout the world. Create an inspiration and motivation for people of all ages, colors, backgrounds. If I could use my passion to challenge, inspire, motivate, comfort, or even help one person, then I'm serving my purpose. I've had serious issues. I've had a lot of close calls. I want to do something too. Everyone else is acting up. I want to act up. You know, when you're acting up and you're putting other people in danger and you're putting yourself at risk. Some people, you know, their moms told them no, no, no their whole life, so now they want to rebel and do it. All right, we're drinking. Let's go hang out now. You know. Now I need my lawyer. Like, yeah, what can I say?
Hi all, I'm Taylor Nia, and I'm here with a very special guest.
I am Joe Donato. I go by Highside Joe, and I'm a professional motorcycle stunt rider and entrepreneur, I guess. I own my own clothing brand and a small shop here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So before we get into what you do now, let's talk about where you came from. Where are you originally from, and how was it growing up there?
I'm originally from Long Island, New York, a small town of Lindenhurst. It's definitely a different environment than North Carolina for sure. I left there when I was young, but definitely struggled a lot coming up. The environment there was a lot more fast-paced and aggressive. Bicycles were always there as like my escape from other things. Like growing up on Long Island, you could get kind of anywhere if you had a bicycle. So it was like I could jump on my bike and go literally anywhere I wanted to be within 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I could even get on the train and ride 40 minutes into New York City and then really disappear if I wanted to. So I think the two wheels in general have just pretty much been my escape from everything, my freedom, if you will. I was 13 or 14 when we moved out of New York and we came here to North Carolina, small suburb a little bit north of Charlotte. So yeah, I've been here basically about exactly half my life now. So I guess I was like at the kind of point in my life where people start to like give up on their actual life and start to think like, all right, well, you know, I'm an adult now, playtime's over, it's kind of just time to just get a career, get a job, start just working and chugging away at stuff, you know, find a girl and get whatever. And then, so I was working with a friend's uncle owns a big commercial electric company here. So I was working there for almost 3 years. And during that time I had started stunt riding. I got my first bike. And then I was kind of just doing that on the side, you know, riding after work. Like I would go to work with my truck, with my bike in the back of the truck and go ride afterwards and stuff. And then I started buying and selling like little dirt bikes and four-wheelers and stuff and making some flips on the side. And then I was actually doing pretty decent with that and then getting a little bit better at stunt riding. Started taking trips to go to stunt rides and stuff. You know, I made a lot of really good friends in this industry, and you know, lucky for me, they were able to show me a lot of different things. So fly me out, let me ride their motorcycle and see some different things. So that kind of started to pick up, and they were talking about layoffs at my job, and I kind of just volunteered and stepped up. You know, a lot of the other guys were stressing; they didn't want to lose their job or whatever, and I was just kind of at that point where my side hustles were kind of making decent money too, and I was kind of in an okay spot to where I didn't really need my 9 to 5 anymore. So, I just said, I'll go, and they were like, all right, go ahead. You're good. If you need a job again, call us. Your name's still good here. And that was it. And I haven't looked back since. I hadn't had a job since.
Why do you think people in general go into stunt riding?
I don't know. It's hard to say, like, in a general sense why. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think some people just really love riding. Some people like a challenge. Some people, their moms told them no their whole life, so now they want to rebel and do it. I think some people are egotistical and they like the look at me, look what I could do, look at me go put on this show out here. I think there's a lot of different reasons. Of freedom. Like, I know a lot of people that never thought about riding and get around guys like me or my friends or whatever, and then all of a sudden they think like, wow, like, you guys live different, you think different, you move different, like, I want to get involved, and then they pick up a bike and never would have thought they would ride a bike, let alone do a wheelie or anything, and then they get one, ride, have fun, and then, eventually you feel like tapped on what you've learned, your skills at a certain point, and then you feel like, okay, maybe I'll try something new. Let me try a wheelie, or let me try a burnout. I want to do something too. Everyone else is acting up. I want to act up. So then you start practicing stuff, and it's just the natural progressions of life, I guess.
Out of all the things that you've seen, what is the craziest stunt event you've ever attended?
When I first started riding in the streets and like traveling to different, big ride outs, I'd have to say ROC was like the biggest one talked about and probably the longest running stunt ride. That's been the craziest for me for a while. And then I went to Miami for their MLK ride out, and that was the most hectic, adrenaline fuel, like.
And right now, hundreds of reckless ATV riders and bikers are flooding the streets of South Florida, yet again pulling off stunts and putting drivers in danger. It is a dangerous event that keeps happening every year, and especially on this holiday in South Florida.
What crime you can see with a whole bunch of guys riding bikes? That's it. There's no crime here.
We having fun doing what we want to do. Staying out of trouble. We just keeping positive vibes, man.
I don't know. That was the craziest ride I've probably ever been to ever. And then, Lean Back in Chirac, the Chicago ride out that Brian 636 hosts, that is probably my favorite event now every year that I look forward to. Just simply for the amount of riding that gets done. I mean, it's almost like a week-long thing now, and you ride all day. So, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people want to ride a little bit, hang out a lot more, and whatever, which sometimes I'm super guilty of that. Like, there might be times I pull my bike out for 2 hours. I'm like, all right, we're drinking. Let's go hang out now, But so I think Chicago is my favorite for riding, and like just sheer hours of seat time, and vibing with a lot of like really good riders. I think Chicago is probably like the most overall fun, has the deepest riding community, I think, that's consistent. So I feel like at any given time you could go there and there's going to be a group of people riding, whether you like to just cruise the highways, stunt ride, or whatever. I think they have the biggest riding community right now. And then on the other side of that, I would think the East Coastin' Party is my favorite, like, get together with the friends event, not necessarily like for the riding itself, but just, to be around everybody, having a good time kind of thing, catching up with everyone. And so those are probably my two favorite ones right now, yeah. Chicago and Connecticut.
Thousands of riders are expected at a motorcycle rally scheduled for Saturday in New Haven, and city officials are furious. This is video from last year. 10,000 riders came out and stretched police resources. The city says the event does not have the proper permit, poses a risk to public safety, and they wanted it canceled. Organizers of the East Coastin' Crew say they were blocked from getting the permits.
How about Charlotte's riding community? Is there a big stunt riding community here?
Charlotte's growing. Charlotte's, it's a very new city and it's up and coming. I've watched the stunt riding scene here grow from literally 2 riders that knew how to wheelie to, you know, now a dozen or more on a daily basis pretty much out here. So it's awesome to watch it come up, and that's why I've stayed here. I've had options to go other places, and I almost moved to California a couple of times. You know, they got great weather there, obviously, year-long riding. I have a lot of friends out there. But I stayed here because I see the potential in Charlotte. We got a really good group of guys here that ride frequently, and then the ones that don't ride as frequently, we still have a pretty big group. And then just in North Carolina in general, I mean, we're only a 3-4 hour drive from end to end either which way, so we could bring in a lot of people from the North and South Carolina area pretty quickly. So it's cool to watch. I love riding here, but I think it's more or less just because it's my home and I'm comfortable here. I know these streets, I know the people, I know how the cops work, I know how the drivers act, you know, I know how people are going to react to the riding, which I think is why I feel so comfortable in Chicago too, because I'm there a lot, so I'm acclimated with the area.
So now that we're out on the street, let's talk about crashing and safety. What do you think about the risk involved in stunt riding?
I think there's definitely big risks in stunt riding. I think there's ways to minimize them for sure. You know, it just depends on your personality, I guess. So some people are a lot more reckless and they don't necessarily care. And then there's other people that, you know, they're worried about getting home every day to their family in one piece, got to go to work in the morning, you know, you got stuff to do, you can't be going home with broken bones. So, you know, it just depends on how hard you want to push things.
So how do you mentally prepare yourself both before you get on the bike and while you're stunt riding?
I don't think about it, to be honest with you. I feel like you get in your head with certain things, you start worrying about not letting something happen or if something could happen. I mean, I live every day like it's a normal day, you know, I got breath in my lungs, everything's cool until it's not. I try to worry about, you know, like I didn't have health insurance for the longest time, so I was super worried about riding all the time. Since opening my shop and getting the business going, I got health insurance now, so I feel a little bit better. I got a little bit more money in the bank for a rainy day, God forbid, so I'm a little bit more prepared now than I've ever been for incidents, although I've also toned myself down a lot too with my riding, so I don't get hurt as often, knock on wood somewhere. Nothing's really made me question riding. I've seen a good amount of people get hurt, you know, I've seen bad broken bones, I've seen people completely lose, you know, a limb. I broke my wrist in a couple of spots years ago, and it took like a full year to get back on track and like to be able to pull a clutch again, you know, and every day it still affects me, but nothing's made me question if I should stop riding or if I should slow down, no. I try to at least have a helmet on at all times. I'm real lax when it comes to gear. I like to be more free rather than protected for a fall. You know, you start putting knee pads and elbow pads, it gets a little constricting, a big jacket, you know, the helmet, and you start to feel a little stiffer, and I'd rather like just feel more free and able to move, you know, to prevent things from happening rather than worry about what's going to happen when I hit the floor, which is a bad idea. But, you know, this past trip in the lean back in Chirac this year, I actually had an incident. Somebody crashed in front of me. I hit their bike. I crashed, and my shoes actually flew off, and I ended up breaking my toe, and it's still acting up now because I never let it heal. But that's a simple thing, like small crash. I shouldn't have broke any bones. My shoes should have been tight enough to not fall off, and I wouldn't have broke my toe. So, you know, you kick yourself with things like that. But otherwise, you know, you kind of just got to deal with it. Sometimes it happens.
So obviously you're very experienced, but what do you say to the inexperienced riders who I've heard are called squids? Can you first define squids and then describe, you know, how you think they should really be operating in terms of safety?
So a squid could have probably couple different definitions depending on who you ask, but for the most part, it's a novice. It's a beginner rider. It's somebody that's ignorant to a lot of lot etiquette or street ride etiquette or group riding etiquette and stuff. I think I'll call you a squid if you should have known better, but you're acting up. Like if you know you don't know how to wheelie and you don't know how to use your rear brake and you know that you haven't practiced very often, but we're out on a big street ride and you're in the middle doing fast power wheelies, putting people in danger, like I'm gonna call you a squid because you know better. Like you're choosing to be ignorant in that sense. But I would never call somebody a squid that's like just new, getting their stuff together. At one point, you're gonna be that new person, so you can't knock anybody for not knowing. But when you're acting up and you're putting other people in danger and you're putting yourself at risk, for an egotistical reason, like I was saying before, of just like trying to be out there with everyone doing what everyone else is doing when you don't typically, that's a squid to me.
Where do you see the future of stunt riding in the United States?
It's popular, it's trendy, it's pushing, which now it's bigger than it's ever been. But nothing ever solidifies. No big money, no corporate situation, no backing of any sort. Nothing really happens to solidify the sport or progress it in any way or give anybody a channel to perfect the sport and focus on riding. Like there's skate parks, there's, ice rings, there's shit like that people could go to practice, and we don't have a specific spot anywhere in any city to go legally practice our sport. So you don't get to just focus on your sport. You got to worry about cops. You got to worry about what your next place to ride is when your spot gets burned. Until we're legally allowed to be somewhere and practice this sport, I don't think it's going to have a foothold anywhere where we're a bunch of street fucking pirates. Like they're not going to allow it to happen. They're going to fight the events. Even when we have sanctioned events at tracks or motorsports parks or something, they find some reason of why we broke the rules, or we caused too much of a scene, or we're too rowdy, we're too reckless, we're too this. And it's, how do you put a limit of recklessness on a freestyle stunt riding? I just don't think you can. Everyone's skill is different. I might not be able to stand on my handlebars and go around a figure 8 circle and do whatever. So that's super reckless to me. I could get seriously hurt doing it, but my buddy could go do that no problem every time. So it's just a very, very hard thing to judge. There's no rules or regulations with it. So it's like, it scares people. It scares business owners. It scares insurance companies. We're purposely out here trying to do things that aren't supposed to be done on the bike. So it's like, you're literally asking for bad things to happen. So it's tough. Whatever. I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way to live, regardless of a law or a moral or whatever. Like, in your gut and your heart with what you're doing. Like if it's wrong, right, or could be wrong but isn't really wrong. So like I look at it more like that.
So you talk about a right way to live. What is Highside life? What is Highside living then?
Highside life I call a life worth living. So it started with my passion for riding, but it's a passion for anything, I think. We all have different focuses and passions and careers and positions in life, but something in everybody sparks something, whether it's riding a motorcycle, flying a plane, knitting a friggin' sweater, like whatever it is, you enjoy something in life. And I think a life worth living and Highside life is just about finding what that is and sharing it with yourself, the world, and then the next step further is helping somebody else find theirs and help their way in.
So given this concept, how did you come up with the logo, and why did you name it Highside Life in particular?
So the Highside Life came from my nickname, which came from me learning how to drift the motorcycles. There's a bunch of different types of crashes, but there's two big types, which is a low side and a high side. The low side would basically be you coming into a turn and sliding out and falling over. The high side is when you lose traction, but then it catches traction again and it flips you out the other way. So, you know, low side's slow, low, and the high side, you know, you get flipped out high. So when I was learning how to drift, I had a lot of high sides. I crashed a lot. This is before I had an Instagram or any other social media or whatever. And my friends were like, make Instagram, make Instagram. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, Highside Joe, man, Highside Joe. And then that turned into Highside Life, which was just, you know, pushing shit. Like I said, you know, find your passion, just run with it, help other people, spread positivity, just, you know, live as best that you can. And then that turned into the brand, and then now I'm trying to spread that beyond bikes and into, you know, every sport, action sport, whatever.
So what is riding for you?
Riding's a lot of things for me. Riding is my escape, my therapy, my joy, my freedom. I don't know. Riding is everything to me for sure. There's a lot of things I could live with or without in my life, and I've noticed, because I've went bikeless before when I thought it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, I don't need a motorcycle for a little bit, and I transition, whatever. Like, I found out really quickly, like, riding is a staple in my life, that no matter where I am in life, no matter what I got going on, whether I'm doing this full time or whatever, I'll always have a motorcycle. I'll always have to have that escape, and I need to ride for my own peace, basically.
Stunt riding as a career. How does one make a living on stunt riding? Do you have sponsors, supporters, people helping you? How does a person get to that point?
I think there's a lot of different ways. I think when you say stunt riding as a career itself would be what I think like a professional like an athlete or a motorsports athlete or whatever. Like, you know, if you're getting paid to do that craft, that's on a level way beyond what I've been able to do with riding. That's like, you know, you're riding every single day for hours a day. You're in the gym training like you're riding. Like, it's a professional sport at that point. You know, you're training like the NFL guys or anybody else that's, you know, holds themselves to that level. So to get actually paid to ride like that and only solely get paid to ride and not have to work or do anything else but maintenance your bikes and ride, I think that's a very difficult level to get to, that it's so minute that it's almost impossible to hit that. But there's a lot of other ways, if you're creative enough and you have a hard enough work ethic, that like you can get a lot of stuff done. Like, you know, for myself as an example, like I don't get paid from one avenue of anything. I have my merchandise that sells. I have my sponsorships. I opened this small shop up to do parts installs and tire changes and things like that. And then I opened the parts dealer account. So I'm a rep for Drag Specialties and Parts Unlimited now. So I sell parts. I get paid to do stunt shows, you know, tips from those stunt shows. So it's a lot of different things in all. Like I said, flipping motorcycles, you know, as you start to, you know, make a network in the community and stuff, you know, deals tend to find you before they hit the market, kind of thing. You know, a buddy might call you and say, hey, I just came across this bike, you know, like 636 for $800. And I know for sure I'm going to get 35 for that. So I'm going to go pick that up real quick. So there's just a lot of different things that you can do to support your habit. Because at the end of the day, this is my addiction, this is my disease, this is my habit, this is my hobby, whatever you want to call it. So the whole thing with progressing with it is just finding out a way to pay for it, you know? And there's been plenty of times where I'm like, man, I could just work a 9 to 5 and clock out at 5 o'clock and go ride for fun, and my bills would still be paid, and I'd almost have less stress, and I'd enjoy riding more, because the work I do to ride is like takes away from what I started it for in the beginning. So kind of a double-edged sword, just depends on like how you want to live.
Yeah. So speaking of how you live, You mentioned stunt shows, so I'm imagining that you travel a lot.
Yes.
What are the pros and cons of traveling, and do you enjoy it?
I love traveling. Me personally, like I don't mind getting in the truck and driving, and I like linking up with different people. I think I progressed a lot in my riding style by riding with a lot of different people from different areas. You pick up on certain ways or habits that people have, so it diversifies your riding for sure. But I'm like a gypsy at the end of the day pretty much anyway. Like I live out of my suitcase anyway. If I took you to my house right now, my room, I'm still out of my suitcase from the last trip. I haven't even unpacked and like put my stuff in the closet yet. Like I'm pretty minimal with who I am. So traveling for me is nothing. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts about this. I've gone to a lot of different places and seen a lot of different things that I probably wouldn't have had it not been for the motorcycles. And it also gives you that common ground to meet people that like you already kind of have a mutual interest, so it's easy to get off on the right foot with people instead of just like a cold meet. Hey, I'm from wherever, and oh, me too. Like, oh, you're here to ride? Okay, cool. Yeah, this is my buddy Johnny. He rides too. So opens up a lot more doors that way.
So how do you see your role in the growth of the stunt community in Charlotte?
I'm like caught in between trying to be like an OG mentor, kind of steer the situation a little bit with the younger guys, and still a younger guy myself that feels like I'm still learning and growing. So, it's a fine line. A lot of times I feel like I want to help or do something in a certain way, and then I think like, who am I to even, like, whatever, just let it run, like it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think my role here is just to help support everybody and try to keep everyone with open minds and riding together. When I started Highside Life and then started riding out here, there's only like one big group of sport bike riders, like, so it's the network on Facebook or whatever, just the Facebook group. And I used to go to their meetups and ride and do wheelies and stuff, and nobody really liked it. Everyone was super nervous about it. They talked some trash. They didn't want me around, kind of thing. And then the Harley riders were strictly with the Harley guys. The track guys and the fast guys on the street bikes all stuck together. And then there was the dirt bike and the four-wheeler crowd that did wheelies in the streets, and everyone was very separated, and there wasn't a stunt riding scene. And then there was just me kind of hopping in between all of them, and I just started bringing everybody together. It used to be like, no dirt bikes at this ride out, no Harleys here, street bikes only, and now it's kind of just came to a point now where it's everyone's welcome everywhere, and I think that's the biggest thing I'm proud of, or like the biggest thing that I wanted to give to the community, is that like, we're all on the same page here. Like, it doesn't matter if you like this kind of bike or this kind of bike, like we're all riding for the same reasons. It's all good. It's all love. So we have to understand each other's movements and our place, and, but that doesn't mean we got to hate on each other. So I think my role is just like kind of try to bring everybody together. If you come to any ride out that I host, the groups of people there is crazy. The diversity there is wild. And that's what I like the most. I like seeing everybody cut up together. Like, see a Harley doing a wheelie with a dirt bike in a pack of, it just, I don't know, it's hard to wrap your mind around something like that. That's what I like.
So it sounds like the stunt biking community has been really helpful for you, and you're trying to help people. So how do you view people that don't ride motorcycles and they see motorcycles as a disadvantage to the city?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about bikes, and I think things get blown out of proportion a lot of times. The media or whoever wants to take a small clip and like embed it into somebody's brain of like a short, chaotic time that might have lasted 10 seconds, and then you want to repeat it and make it like it's a burden to society. I mean, like, in reality, especially in a city like Charlotte, I mean, the riding community is not that big. The population of the city isn't that large to begin with, so the riding population is automatically smaller because we're pulling from a smaller pot. So even on our biggest rides here, you might see 100 people or so. So like our small weekly packs that we ride out with is maybe anywhere from 5 to 20 motorcycles at a time, you know. And if you think about being in traffic, you know, people crying about us passing them, going too fast or causing traffic. I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at what's actually going on, it's 30 seconds of somebody's life at the most that we inconvenience them, that they got stuck at a red light because we were going too slow, or we flew by them, around them, and then took off through the light and whatever. Like, you know, it might have been scary for you at that moment, but in reality, it was 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and you're in a cage, you know, you're in a car, we're on bikes, and I hate hearing like, oh, you could have caused an accident or hurt other people or whatever. Like, unless I was riding my motorcycle onto the sidewalk at somebody, like the chances of my mistake affecting somebody else is so minimal. Besides like damage to property, if my bike were to take off and hit a car or hit a curb or a building or whatever, which is still never happens, but like God forbid, the worst case scenario, that's all that's gonna happen. I might get hurt, I might get bruised up, but you know, so the whole danger to society or the danger to the public isn't, you know, you might not like the noise, that's another conversation, you know, we're loud, but I don't think we've ever been a danger to anybody, and I don't think it ever really will be. And I mean, obviously, with everything, there's bad apples. There's people that, you know, don't have the same outlook on life as me, that aren't good people, but that's on or off the bike. You're going to be that same type of person, you know. I don't know. I don't think motorcycles are a problem for anybody, so it makes no sense why they focus so hard on it. It's a non-victim, like it's a victimless crime. It's non-violent. It's traffic tickets at the end of the day, and there's just no issues with it, really, I don't think, you know. And then if they talk about causing traffic and stuff, I mean, motorcycles are typically saving traffic, and, you know, we're not a part of it. Like, you know, if you're in a car, you are traffic, you know, the bike's filtering through or whatever. I mean, that's helping traffic. So all the arguments about how bikes are bad for society blows my mind. It's like none of it is based on anything real. So it's kind of funny to me.
Given this whole tension between traffic and noise, and, you know, there's the biking community and then non-biking community having tension, the cops are here to protect and serve everyone, right? So what has been your experience dealing with cops?
Now I need my lawyer. I'm like, yeah, what can I say? No, I've had serious issues. I've had a lot of close calls. For the most part, cops are good, you know. Like I said, as long as you're not causing a danger to society or a problem. Like, I mean, Charlotte in general, the only time I've ever had issues with cops, or like cops being called to a spot or whatever, was 90% of the time over curiosity. Either, you know, somebody heard something for so long and eventually was like, what's going on over there? Let me call somebody to check. And, you know, the cops are usually friendly. They just curious. They want to know what's going on. You know, were we racing? Were we doing this, that? So normally it's a pleasant interaction. I think things come from up top a lot too. You know, they might have been at their like early morning meeting or something, and somebody is causing pressure over here, so that sergeant's telling his force like, oh, we got to crack down on the bikes this week, you know, we can't have this, there's been too many complaints or whatever. So we might have a short period of time where we don't get away with as much, you know. We kind of got to have a little bit more respect than normal and try to watch our back. But there's other times where we're good to go. It almost feels like, not that we own the street, but that, you know, the streets are ours, we're good. You know, it's on us to police ourselves at that point, you know. if we get hurt, I don't expect the world to stop to help me when I was acting up, you know, like we clean ourselves up, we get what we got to get done and keep it moving. I feel like there's certain people that don't really necessarily need to be on motorcycles, and there's other people that things come to very quickly. And I think it's just more of like, not necessarily like about the motorcycle itself, but just about you as a person. Like, you know, are you coordinated? Can you multitask? Are you good in high stress, high pressure situations? Can you think quick? Like, you know, can you react quicker than you think? That kind of thing. You know, if you can't balance on one foot for 5 seconds on the ground, you probably can't balance a motorcycle in a wheelie, like, you know. But if you pick things up quick and you have good coordination and stuff, it might come easier to you. But I've seen people that, you know, the first time they come out to practice, you're like, oh God, like, no, get him off a bike. Like, maybe you don't need to do this. And then they prove everyone you're wrong. And they come every day and they practice and they practice and practice. And then one day a switch flips and it clicks for them and they got it. So I think your passion can definitely outweigh an inability to do something, for sure. I don't think you can force yourself to really do anything, but if you love something enough, like, you're gonna get over those learning curves. It's just about who you are as a person. If you're ready to fail, like, I mean, it's not like you're definitely gonna get hurt or whatever, but like, you're gonna run into roadblocks and walls, you know, you're gonna crash, you're gonna have issues. Like, you know, if you're not able to like overcome that stuff, then you're not gonna like really last. But that's with anything in life. I don't think it's just to do with the motorcycle. That's with anything. You know, if you can't get over that, like, I don't know. That's a whole deeper conversation. I think that ain't even on the motorcycle thing, though. I think that goes back to, like, you know, stuff my father taught me growing up, and wrestling, and just like willpower. Like, how bad do you want something? If you want it, you know, you're gonna make it happen.